Welcome to the Friday Night Campfire Stories. My name is Rob, and I will be your host for this evening. If you guys are new here, I'm a short story writer, and every single Friday we experience one chapter from one of my short stories. We are officially halfway through my Christmas horror story, which we call DONUM, and so far it has been quite an exhilarating journey, but I promise you we're just getting started. Today's episode may require you to keep your jaws held up so they don't fall on the floor. If you have not checked out chapters 1 and 2, I suggest that you do that on my channel before watching this. They're both already uploaded and they should be in the DONUM playlist if you want to just watch it that way. But yes, let's waste no more time. This is chapter 3 of DONUM. DONUM, chapter 3. The light overhead flickered again, casting an eerie strobe effect across the living room. The once cozy warmth of Christmas morning had evaporated, replaced by an overwhelming sense of dread. Every creak, every groan of the house felt alive with malice, like the walls themselves had turned against them. Ashley was the first to speak. Her voice was low and trembling, barely containing the fury that had begun to simmer inside her. "What have you done, Theo?" Theo sat hunched over in the corner, his face ashen, his eyes staring at the floor. He didn't answer immediately, his body stiff as if he were bracing for the inevitable. Emily stood a few feet away, her arms crossed over her chest, her face pale but furious too. Tom paced back and forth near the tree, his fingers raking through his hair as he tried to make sense of the madness unfolding around them. "We all saw it," Tom said, his voice rising in a mixture of anger and panic. "That thing, whatever it is, was real, and you knew it was coming." Theo finally lifted his head, his eyes dark and hollow. "I didn't mean for this to happen." "Didn't mean for what to happen?" Ashley snapped, stepping closer to him. Her whole body was in a trembling rage. "You brought that thing into our home. You put all of us, Emma, in danger. How could you?" Theo looked away, shame flooding his face, but he didn't defend himself. His silence only fanned the flames of Ashley's anger. "Answer me," she demanded, her voice cracking. "Why is it targeting you? Why are you here, Theo?" Emily moved towards him, her eyes filled with a mixture of hurt and confusion. "Theo, why didn't you tell me any of this? You knew that something like this could happen, and you still brought it into my sister's home, into our home." Theo's shoulders slumped, the weight of his guilt pressing down on him. "I didn't have a choice," he said quietly. I thought it was over. I thought it was in the past." A cold chill swept through the room, and the lights flickered once more. The fire in the hearth died, plunging the room into unnatural darkness. The shadows on the walls seemed to stretch, twisting into grotesque shapes, like long fingers reaching out from the darkness. And then a low, guttural growl echoed through the house. Ashley's blood froze as the sound reverberated through the walls, growing louder, closer. Emma whimpered from her high chair, her tiny body trembling in fear. Ashley rushed to her, pulling her daughter close, her arms shaking. Tom grabbed a fireplace poker, his eyes darting around the room. "What the hell is that?" Theo's face went white with terror. "It's here." The growl grew louder, more menacing, as if something was coming deep within the walls of the house, rattling the very foundation beneath them. The lights flickered violently, casting sporadic flashes of light and shadow across the room. Each flash revealed something lurking. A shape moved through the darkness, tall, hulking, and impossibly fast. It darted from one corner of the room to another, a blur of motion that sent chills down Ashley's spine. "Stay close," Tom barked, his voice tight with fear as he gripped the fireplace poker. His eyes were wild, scanning the room for sources of the noise, for any sign of the creature. Ashley held Emma tightly against her chest, her heart racing. She could feel her daughter trembling, her small arms wrapped around her neck. "Shh, baby, it's okay," she whispered, even though she wasn't sure if that was true anymore. Theo stood frozen, his eyes wide with terror as he stared at the shadow swirling around them. "It's too late," he muttered under his breath. "It's here for me." Suddenly, the growling stopped. The room was plunged into an eerie silence, broken only by the rapid breathing of the family. Ashley's gaze darted around the room, her heart pounding on her chest. Where was it? Where had it gone? Then, out of nowhere, a deafening crash shattered the silence. The Christmas tree toppled over, ornaments scattering across the floor as the massive, clawed hand swiped at it. The creature was no longer hiding in the shadows. Ashley's eyes widened in horror as the demon finally stepped into view, fully materialized. Its body was twisted and grotesque, a horrifying mockery of a human form. Its skin was leathery and black, its eyes burning red with malevolent hunger. Jagged claws extended from its hands, and its mouth, lined with a sharp, needle-like teeth, curled into a sinister grin. "Get back," Tom shouted, stepping in front of Ashley and Emma with the poker raised. His voice was filled with determination, but Ashley could see the fear in his eyes. The demon's glowing eyes fixated on them, and it let out a deep, guttural snarl. It moved in lightning speed, lunging towards them with claws outstretched. Before anyone could react, the creature's hand swept towards Emma. Time seemed to slow down, and Ashley screamed, pulling her daughter tighter against her chest as the demon closed in. But Tom was faster. With a roar of desperation, he swung the poker at the demon's hand, striking it with all his strength. The creature let out an enraged shriek, recoiling as sparks flew from point of impact. Tom didn't stop. He swung again and again, trying to push the demon back. The demon retaliated with the vicious swipes of its claws, catching Tom across the chest. He gasped in pain, stumbling back as blood blossomed through his shirt. But he didn't let go of the poker. He kept swinging, his body shaking with effort. "Tom!" Ashley cried out, her voice breaking as she watched him struggle against the creature. She wanted to help, but Emma was in her arms, and her first instinct was to protect her daughter. The demon roared in frustration, its eyes burning brighter as it lashed out again. This time it struck Tom's leg, sending him crashing to the ground. He groaned in agony, the poker slipping from his grasp as the demon loomed over him, ready to strike the killing blow. "No!" Ashley screamed. But before the creature could finish Tom off, Theo stepped forward, his face pale but determined. "Stop!" he shouted, drawing the demon's attention away from the fallen man. The demon turned its gaze towards Theo, its red eyes narrowing with recognition. It hissed, baring its fangs as it slowly advanced on him. Theo swallowed hard, his entire body trembling. He knew what had to be done. "I'm the one you want," Theo said, his voice shaking but resolute. "It's me you came for. Let them go. I'll give you what you're owed." The demon paused and tilted his head before disappearing into the darkness. "Where did it go?" the room asked. "Was it gone for good?" Nobody was sure of where it had disappeared to, but they could only imagine it wouldn't be gone long. Ashley tends to the wounds of Tom. He is alive but in critical condition. She takes rags and blankets trying to stop the bleeding. She calls 911 to get an ambulance there, but the phone lines are dead. All she can do is try to help with what little information she has about protecting wounds. "I will save us all," Theo says with a tear in his eye, knowing what has to be done. "I'm going to sacrifice myself for all of you." "No, Theo, you can't," Emily cries out. "Yes, the hell he can," Ashley says with frustration. "Look at Tom. He didn't deserve any of this. My daughter doesn't need to be at risk. None of us made a deal with the devil. That was Theo. So yes, he can sacrifice himself for our safety." Theo stumbled towards the basement door, each step heavy with dread. Ashley and Emily hovered behind him, their faces pale, eyes wide. Tom was slumped against the wall, his breathing shallow, blood still seeping through his shirt. The cuts across his chest and legs were deep, and he would need medical attention soon if he was going to survive. But they had no time. The demon had given them no time. "I have to go down there," Theo said quietly, his voice hollow. "It's the only way to end this." "We'll lock you in," Ashley whispered, holding Emma tightly. Her daughter whimpered softly in her arms, her face buried in her mother's shoulder. Theo shook his head slowly. "There is no other way. It's my debt. It has to be me." Emily clenched her fist at her sides, tears streaming down her cheeks. "I don't want to lose you, Theo. Please." He turned and placed a trembling hand on her cheek. "You won't. This thing is only here because of me. If I give it what it wants, it'll leave. You have to trust me." She looked up at him, her eyes filled with a mixture of love and despair. "I do trust you, but I'm scared." "So am I," Theo murmured. He leaned in, pressing a kiss on her forehead. "But this is the only way to keep you all safe." Emily's face crumbled as he turned away, heading towards the basement door. He pulled it open slowly, the creak of old hinges echoing through the tense silence of the house. Darkness yawned beneath, thick and oppressive, like a gaping maw of a beast waiting to swallow him whole. "Close it behind me," Theo said softly, glancing back at them. "Lock it. Don't open it, no matter what you hear." Emily swallowed hard. What if it kills you down there?" A faint, humorless smile tugged at Theo's lips. "Then at least it'll all be over." With that, he descended into the basement, the wooden steps creaking under his weight. Ashley and Emily stood at the top of the stairs, watching as his figure was swallowed by the darkness below. When he reached the bottom, they hesitated, glancing at each other. "We have to do it," Ashley whispered, voice cracking. Emily nodded, her heart aching as she reached out and slowly pushed the door closed. There was a heavy click as she turned the lock, sealing Theo inside. For a moment, there was silence. Then, from below, they heard Theo's voice, faint but defiant. "I'm here," he shouted into the darkness. "Take me. Take what you came for, you bastard." There was a pause, and then the sound of something shifting, a low, rumbling growl that seemed to reverberate through the very walls of the house. "Come on," Theo roared, his voice echoing up the stairs. "You wanted my soul? Take it. What are you waiting for?" The growl grew louder, followed by the sounds of footsteps, heavy, dragging footsteps, and then chaos. The basement exploded with noise, furniture crashed, walls shook, the air filled with snarls of something monstrous. Theo's voice rang out, a mixture of rage and pain, as if he were battling with the very shadows themselves. Emily clapped her hands over her ears, tears streaming down from her face. "No, no, no," she cried, shaking her head violently. "I can't do this. I can't just leave him down there." Ashley's heart raced as she watched her sister crumble. She reached out, pulling Emily close, holding her tightly as the sound of destruction raged below them. "Shh," she whispered, though her own voice was trembling. "We have to be strong, for Emma, for Tom." But Emily didn't seem to hear her. "Theo," she screamed, her voice raw and broken. "Please, please don't leave me." And then, just as suddenly as it had begun, the noise stopped. Silence fell over the house, so thick and absolute that it felt like suffocating. Ashley held her breath, her heart pounding in her chest. Had it worked? Had Theo's sacrifice actually banished the demon? "Emily," she whispered, glancing down at her sister. Maybe it's over." Emily looked up at her, hope flickering in her tear-filled eyes, but none of them could move. A voice rang out from the basement, startling them both. "Ashley! Emily!" It was Theo's voice. The sisters froze, staring at the locked door in disbelief. "It didn't take me," Theo shouted, his voice desperate. "Please, let me out. It didn't take my soul." Ashley's blood ran cold. That wasn't possible. It should have all been over. But if Theo was still down there, if he was still alive... Emily stumbled forward, her hand shaking as she fumbled with the lock. "Theo!" she cried, hope and fear mingling in her voice. "Are you okay?" "Yes," he gasped. "But we have to get out of here. The demon, it's still here. Please, let me out." The lock clicked open, and Ashley threw the door open wide. For a moment, everything was still. Then, the house exploded. the air around them twisting, warping into a maelstrom of darkness and fire. Shadows poured from the basement, swirling around them like a living storm. The walls trembled, and the temperature plummeted, their breaths coming out in white puffs of mist. The basement doorway yawned open, a swirling pit of darkness from which emanated a hellish red glow. It was like staring into the very gates of hell itself. Ashley screamed as the shadows lashed out, wrapping around her, Emily and Emma. She clutched her daughter tightly, trying to shield her from the nightmare unfolding around them. "No!" Theo's voice was a tortured cry, but he was nowhere to be seen. "You lied to me! You said you'd take me! Why?" The demon's laughter echoed throughout the house, a deep, mocking sound that seemed to come from every direction at once.
"Because your soul was never the one I wanted,"
it whispered, the words slithering through the air like serpents.
"It was never about you, Theo."
Ashley gasped, her eyes widening at the realization dawned. She turned to Emily, her heart pounding in her chest. "What is it talking about?" Emily's face was ashened, her eyes filled with horror and guilt. Tears streamed down her cheek, and she shook her head violently, as if denying some terrible truth. "No," she whispered. "No, please don't make me say it." "Emily?" Ashley begged, clutching Emma tightly. "What does it mean?" The demon's voice boomed, filling the room.
"Tell her, Emily. Tell them all."
Emily squeezed her eyes shut, sobbing uncontrollably. She shook her head again, but then the shoulders slumped in defeat. Slowly, she opened her eyes and looked up at her sister. "It's not Theo," she whispered, her voice breaking. "It's me." Ashley's heart stopped. "I'm the one it wants," Emily choked out, tears streaming down her face. "I'm the one it's here for." Come on, y'all know I love to write a good cliffhanger. I do apologize, that is where we are going to be leaving it off today, but I will give you guys a little bit of a Christmas gift, given we are getting very close to Christmas. So, next week is actually Christmas week, so we are going to be changing the schedule. So, this is the Friday Night Campfire Stories. We've always released a chapter on Friday. Next week, and next week only, we will be changing the schedule. So, if you're new here, we do make 3 videos every single week. Every Monday, we do an episode of Echoes of the Past, which is my paranormal series where we look into the history of haunted locations. And then every Wednesday, we do an episode of Far From Fiction, which is my true crime series. And then, of course, the namesake of the channel, every Friday night, is the Friday Night Campfire Stories. However, next week, given that it's Christmas, I feel that it's only right that we finish the Christmas horror story on a day surrounded by Christmas. So, next week's schedule will be looking a little different. On Monday, we will continue to do Echoes of the Past. Nothing's going to change there. It's going to be Monday. On Tuesday, I have not released a video on Tuesday before, so this will be a first, but given that it's Christmas Eve, I feel like it's the perfect time to release the finale of DONUM. So that way the story can kind of end with a Christmas theme on Christmas. We will also be having a special start time for that episode. Usually they come out at 9 Eastern, 8 Central, 6 Pacific time. Next Tuesday, we will be releasing it earlier. It will be released at 4 Eastern, 3 Central, 1 Pacific time. That way, you guys can still watch DONUM in the afternoon. And then if you have any holiday traditions or Christmas Eve things that you guys do with your family, you're still able to do that at night and still be able to listen to DONUM while it first comes out. That'll also be set as a premiere. And then for the rest of the week, Wednesday, given that it's Christmas, we will not be releasing a video. Thursday, we will not be releasing a video. And on Friday, we're going to be doing the Far From Fiction episode. So if you're looking for the Far From Fiction episode, it will not be released on Wednesday. It will be released on Friday next week. So that is going to do it for today. I hope that you guys did enjoy. If you did, click that like button, hit that subscribe button, and we will see you guys next time. As always, thank you for spending a little bit of your evening here with me.